Hi. Have you ever wanted to be George Soros? What about a member of the Clinton Foundation? Or any other group that controls the world and anybody we elect isn't really controlling anything. It's all controlled by these elites. Well, if that sounds like something you would like to do, Imperial 2030 is the game. Alright? It's a game where 2 to 6 players can get together and cause wars and control several countries at once and then destroy their economies and then go invest in another country. And it's pretty fun. I'd say one of my favorite games. I know it's not historical at all, but there is a lot of war aspect to it, so we're reviewing it today. All right, so let's get in here and learn this game. All right, so looking at this board, it's a little... My friend said it looked like Risk, but honestly, it's just a map of the world divided up. And apparently people associate that with Risk, but it is nothing like Risk. We're going to explain what everything on this board means, okay? So first, I want to explain, let's go over the board. So the board is divided into regions, if we're looking at Africa, that are kind of this darker yellow, okay? And then the oceans are divided into certain sections based on these black lines. You know, U.S. South Atlantic, the Caribbean Sea, North Atlantic, okay? They're all labeled, okay? And then on the sides here, there's arrows to go to the other sea, okay? So this way goes to the North NP, so North Pacific, okay? And then these are colored regions, are the 6 countries that are involved in this game, okay? So we got the United States, Brazil, the European Union, Russia, India, and China. China's this bright yellow, okay? So, how's the game start? Well, you set it up just like this. I think I got the factories all right. I didn't actually check. I should have. Double check the factories if you're going off me to set this up. But this is just kind of a quick run through of everything. I'm not doing a how-to here, okay? This is just a game review. So there's 2 types of factories. There's these brown ones, and they build armies. And then there's the blue ones, and they build navies. So that's simple as that. Okay. Now in this game, you need to understand that there are two sets of money that you'll be working with. Okay. There's the country's treasury, which is next to the country here. So right now, none of the countries have any money because we just set up and started. And then there's your personal money. Okay. And that money will determine if you win at the end of the game. Whoever has the most money wins, okay? Now, you don't need to save money. There's going to be a payout at the end based on your investments, okay? So, let's go into the investment chips for each country. So each country has a big stack of investments, okay? And they're all identical. But let's go ahead and look at a stack. Let's look at the United States real quick, okay? Just because I love freedom, all right? So these are all double-sided. One side's in German, including the board and everything we see here. But just so you know, if you open it, I freaked out when I first opened it. I'm like, I got a German board? I'm like, oh, never mind. Okay, so let's look at these. So there's a big stack here. So this one, what we're seeing right here, there are a few different numbers on this that we're going to need to look at. Okay, the first one is this number 1 right here. This is the first investment chip, okay? And it goes all the way to 9, okay? 1 through 9. Okay, and that's all that's saying. Okay, and it's also telling you the interest that it's going to pay out to you. Okay, on the top right is how much this costs. So if you wanted to invest in the United States, you would pay $2 million to get this chip. And every time the United States paid out to its investors, it would pay out $1 million. That's it. And then the interest rate is at 50%, just so you're aware. And then as it goes up, you pay $4 million to get $2 million back, still at a 50% rate. Oops. And then 6 for 3. But as you get higher, like if we're looking at 8, you pay $25 million to get 8 back in interest. So it's only a 32% payout. So if you're just talking for your return, it's less and less useful the more and more you invest. Okay?
but you're going to be getting so much money that's going to be worth it. So why invest in a country? Well, first off, if you invest and all you have is this, well, every time the United States pays out, you're going to be getting 1 million. But if you're the only one with the United States chip, you're going to be in control of the United States. Okay? And you'll hold this bigger chip. There's a stack of bigger chips here. Okay? And you'll hold this United States one if you hold the most investment in the United States. Okay? But if someone else came and bought a higher one than you, let's say you own that one chip, and someone comes and buys this 7, they would then take the United States chip from you and they would control the United States. Now you're asking, whoa, can't you, what if you don't control anything? Well, then you're going to be the Swiss bank, which we'll get into a little bit later. But that's how that works, is whoever has invested the most gets to control that country and the decisions being made. Okay? So there's a lot going on the board as far as investments and things, but there's an investment phase that will happen throughout the game, and that's where you'll be able to buy. That's where someone will be able to buy new investments, and the countries will pay out. Okay, so there will be times where you might be controlling 4 of the 6 nations, and there may be times where you don't have any control of any of the nations. And I tell you what, it is fun no matter what position you're in. Sometimes it's overwhelming when it's you're controlling all of them. So starting the game, you're going to be handing out these country cards at random to people, okay? So everyone's going to get 1, okay? Randomly. Well, it will depend on how many people you're playing with, but if you're playing with like 3 or 4 or more, you're going to be handing everyone 1, okay? So if you were to be given the United States 1, okay? So everyone starts out with $13 million. If you're playing like a standard game with 4. So they would be paying $9 million to the United States, $2 million to Russia, and they would keep $2 million, okay? And by doing that, they would be gaining automatically. You start out, this player would get this $2 million Russia investment, and then they would get a $9 million one from the United States, okay? So they start out with that, and by drawing that United States card, they would get to keep the United States because they're going to get one of the higher ones for that, okay? And then, like, whoever draws the China card will pay China $9 million and US $2 million and get stocks in both of those. So you can see that it will balance out. Whoever gets Russia will get Russia and Europe. So that's how that game's going to start, and that's how everyone's going to start with the countries they control. That's how everyone's going to pay their money to the countries, so the treasuries can start building up, and the countries can actually produce stuff and build armies and make war. But if we're just looking at this right here, so how does the turn order work? Well, whoever controls Russia goes first. Okay, there's this big orange pawn for us to do it. So Russia will take their turn. So whoever's playing Russia, let's say Billy is playing Russia. Okay, so Billy goes. Okay, then it's China once he's done. Well, who owns China? Billy. Oh, okay. Well, he does China's turn again. Then India, who owns that? Oh, that's Miss Clinton. And then Brazil. Oh, that's also Miss Clinton. And then USA, and then you just keep going. And then it goes back to Russia. And then you just keep going through that. Okay, so what do you do on a country's turn? Well, we're going to go in and look at this roundel, this little round circle here, because that's where everything in this game takes place, is in that roundel. So I'm going to move this down to the United States, okay? And we're going to pretend that we have the most invested in the United States because we just love freedom, okay? Let me just take my mount down. All right, so we're looking at this round circle thing here, and let's take all of these off, but all these will be on when you're playing, okay? I just don't want to interfere with what you're seeing, okay? And all these will be on at different places on the board, and you'll just be playing like this, okay? And then you'll move them. But for this example, we're going to take them all off and set them off to the side here, and just show you with the United States, okay? So we're in control of the United States, and it's our first turn. Well, on your first turn, it's going to be in the center. You're going to move it off in any direction you want. Okay, so let's show all the things we can do. And let's start with production. Okay, there's two productions, but let's just start on this one, okay? So production, what does production do? Well, that will produce on factories in your territory, okay? And that's the only place you can really have factories in your territory. So let's pan up here in the United States, okay? So we have a brown factory and a blue factory. Everyone starts out with one of each, okay? So you would produce one army and one navy, and we're gonna put those on there, okay? That's how that works, okay? Now let's come back down to this. Well, now you get to move up to 3 spaces on this board before you have to start paying money, okay? And I don't want to get into all that. I'm just going to show you what all these are and what they do, okay? So the next one is maneuver, and that just means you get to move your troops and place new flags, okay? So if we're doing that and we produce there, and we want to maneuver, we can move him out to there and this guy up to Canada, okay? And your men can be transported on boats, okay? It's kind of like a just to transport them. So if you wanted to get from the northern Atlantic over to Africa, you would just have to have a guy here in a boat in the water, and you could do that. Okay. So you place those flags down to show that those are now United States territories. Okay. So even if you leave those territories later on a different movement, that would still stay. The American flag would still stay in Canada, and then you'd get Quebec. Okay. Anyway, so let's get back down to this thing. Okay, because this is what's really important. Okay, now we're gonna go to taxation. So what is taxation? Well, taxation has to do with this column over here, okay? So it depends how much taxing is done in millions, okay? And then as the controller of the country, you'll get a bonus, and then they'll increase by power, okay? And then we're going to get into the power real quick too, okay? So let's first look at how much they'll get for the taxing, okay? So each factory is worth $2 million, so $4 million, and then each flag is worth 1. So 4, 5, 6, okay? So it's 6 million. Then you subtract 1 for each military unit. 1, 2, okay? So now we're down to 4 million, okay? So we go to this chart, and we're sitting here at 5 in this 0 to 5 bracket. So they would get 4 million to the U.S. Treasury. You would get no bonus, and they would go up no power, okay? So once you get higher in this, okay, like if you were able to tax 10 after deductions, you would get a bonus 2 million to your personal fund the United States would pay you. And then they would go up 3 power. So what's the power? Well, up here, let's take this off the mount. So this is the power tracker at the top. Once one country reaches 25, the game ends, okay? And above the numbers is the multiplier for how much you're going to get paid out at the end of the game, okay? So if you were to get 10 here, which is plus 3, in that case, you would move up the red 1, 2, 3, okay? That's how that would work. And then everyone would just keep moving theirs up as well based on how well the countries were doing, okay? But those are just examples. In this situation, the United States would not have moved up, okay? So let's get back down to this. So that is how taxing works. Next one is factory. The United States can pay $5 million out of their treasury to build another factory, okay? And you can only build factories on these cities that are marked on the board, okay? You can't build them anywhere else, okay? So the United States has 2 more blue ones, so they can only build more navies, okay? So they can put one over here in San Francisco, and then that would be it for the United States. And then we got the production phase again, so we could produce again. But we were not going to, the United States would skip that. Maneuver, they could maneuver again. And we can do that just for fun. Okay. And then there is the investor. Okay. So when you land on this investor mark as the United States, you'll pay out to your investors. So you'll go get the stack of money from the United States Treasury. So it would be over there. So I haven't put any money in there, but normally you'd have a big stack of money sitting there, you know. So what you would do is you take that money from the United States and you would go around, and everyone who had one of these chips would get paid out that investment amount. Okay, starting at the lowest investor. So if you just had this card right here, you would be guaranteed paid. And if you had this card and the United States ran out of money before they could pay you all that, you'll just get whatever's left. Okay. So as the top investor, you're going to want to make sure the United States has enough money to pay out everyone, because you're going to be the one that's going to suffer, not the guys who don't have any money invested in it. So that's what the investor thing does. Now there's a red line there too, and that means anytime anyone goes over it, two more things can also happen. Okay, there's this investor chip, and this is used on the German side, and this is used for people to buy more of these investment tokens. Okay, so, and every time the player uses this or this is triggered, they will collect 2 million and then pass this to their left. Okay, so after they collect $2 million, they'll be able to buy with their personal money plus that 2 million one of these. So if they had 4 million, they could buy this one for 4 million from China to get 2 investment every time China pays out. Well, now this player now controls this and maybe some American ones too, right? And then this would be passed. And the next time a country passes this line or stops on this line, the next person who has this investor chip would get the 2 million, get to invest, and then pass the chip to their left. That's how that works. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is the Swiss bank, which is also going to be triggered when any country passes this red line, okay? So not only is there the investor chip, but if someone doesn't hold a country card, which is one of these ones, they will be given this Swiss bank card. And there can be multiple Swiss banks. Okay, it's just a Swiss bank. I'm just dropping it. But the Swiss bank, what they're going to be able to do is they're not going to get $2 million like the investor with the investor chip, but they're going to be able to get, they will be given the opportunity to buy one of these investment tokens from any country they would like. If they do, and by doing so gain control of a country, then they will lose their Swedish bank, and then they will take that country from whatever player. If by buying a new one does not give you control of a country, you will keep your Swedish bank, your Swiss bank, not Swedish, Swiss bank, and then everyone will continue play until that line is crossed again, and then you'll get to invest again in another country. And that will continue until you have your own control of your own country. So that's how that works, okay? So what's the point of all this? You're investing, you're buying stock. Yeah, I get the concept of it, but what's the whole point? Well, let's take a look at it in a broad view again, and we'll talk about that. All right. So once everything's said and done, there's reasons to start wars and things, okay? So you might be in control of Europe and the United States. But you want to tax the United States soon. But let's say you've built them up a big navy, okay? And you also control the European Union, right? Well, maybe if you control both, you might start a war with yourself. So that you don't have to pay out as much to your military when the taxing comes. So you might come in here with these two boats, and all combat in this is just taken out at a 1-to-1 ratio. But you might start a war with yourself, which is strange to do in a game, to kill your own men with the other men of yours, right? But you're doing it for the money. Everything in this game is for the money. Someone might buy the United States out from under you next turn, and everything this military you built up, and it's so grand and so big, is no longer under your control. So is this a war game? Kind of. It has military units in it, but it's more than that. It's an investment game. It's a money game more than it is a war game. but it makes you think and really strategize what your next moves are, where you want to invest next. And honestly, I got to give you my honest opinion of this game. One of the best games I've played all year. Okay, and I play a lot of different games, and I go through a lot of games that I just don't care for, and some I love. But this is a great game. 9 out of 10. I would recommend everyone to go and get you a copy because it is really fun to sit around with a table of friends and play this because it's not like any other game you've played. Because other games you have patriotism and loyalty to your country, and you're like, no, I'm Russia. I gotta fight for Russia. I gotta be Russia. Well, not in this. This is you are completely. You gotta separate yourself from that way of thinking, and you gotta start thinking in how can I best get a return. And things drastically changed in the game. Um, we were playing a game the other week, and nobody was investing anything in India, and India was falling to pieces. No one was investing anything. It was just garbage. It never paid out very much. And then one guy just threw some money in there, and then India kind of got rich and started expanding. And then someone else was like, "Hey, India's doing pretty good," and threw money in there for more investments, so they could get some investments. And all of a sudden, India just jumps above like four other countries just because everyone just kept investing in it. It got really rich really fast. And it's crazy how drastically a world power in this game can just flip on a dime. And it's interesting how wars are fought and land is gained. Even though it's at a 1-to-1 ratio on the combat, the strategy that is being done inside your head for this game is just so grand, and I love it. So yeah, great game. I highly recommend it. Go ahead and get yourself a copy. I know I didn't go into all the rules, um, and I'm not very good at how to play videos because I tend to forget rules and stuff. But I'm mainly here just to show you the basics of it, and then recommend to you whether I'd get the game or not, and that's what I'm doing today. So yeah, as far as a review for Imperial 2030, yes, great game. Get it before 2030 actually happens. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Hey, I'll see you next week with another video. Until next time.